Hello my fashion lovers, I'm back with a new fashion video. So in today's video, let's talk about one of the most talked about shows in the world currently. So Young, Famous and African season 3 was recently released on Netflix and has been making waves globally. Every single person has been talking about this show, from Nigerians to Africans and even non-Africans. I've also gotten a couple of requests to do a review on this show, and in today's video, let's get into that. So if you're a lover of this show and you'd love to know my opinion concerning everything that played out, be sure to watch this video to the very end. So the show is about a group of friends. The friends is in quotes because I don't consider these people friends. They've been gathered together to show their ultra luxurious lifestyle and serve us drama. They are from different parts of Africa, from Nigeria to South Africa down to Tanzania, as well as other African countries, but they've all gathered in the beautiful country of South Africa. So I believe we have about 13 of them. We have Kanye, who is an actor. We have Annie, who is an actor as well. We also have Naked DJ, who is a DJ of course, and his girlfriend Kaylee, who is a gym enthusiast and footballer. Then we have Nadia, Fantana and Diamond, who are all artists. Then Louis and Ini, who are also actors and film producers. Then Zari and Keshib, who I believe are both into business. Then lastly we have Swanky, who is a stylist. So the third season, which I would be talking about, opened up with preparations for Zari's wedding. So they've all been invited to Zari's wedding, and a couple of them are quite surprised that they got an invite, which were basically Nadia, Fantana and Annie, because of their issues with Zari. So we see Annie arrive South Africa for the wedding in a private plane, and I must say I love the display of wealth on this show. From flying privates to owning luxurious homes and fast cars, down to their fancy clothing and throwing extravagant parties. Anyway, they all arrived at the wedding, aside Diamond, who is Zari's ex. So when Annie arrived, she talked about them being fake towards her, which was quite funny. Cause how are they fake when you walked in with this vibrant energy, like everything was all cool and you all embraced each other? So while they were at the wedding, she proceeds to rant about how young she felt the groom was. And mind you, she was sitting directly behind Zari's children and family members. I totally understand the fact that a lady marrying a younger man can be quite controversial, but that was not the right place to address such. She went ahead to say the groom was carrying a burden that was too much for him by marrying Zari. According to her, she felt Zari's sons were probably same age as the groom, and there was no way he could probably be a proper father figure to them. And let's also remember that Annie also carried a very similar burden with her ex-husband, Two-Face. She got married to Two-Face, who is way older than her, and also agreed to be a mother figure to the kids he had due to his ex-marital affairs. So if we're being sincere, her case was worse, but that's a story for another day. So she also decides to address her issues with Nadia at that same wedding, but thankfully Nadia paid her no attention. Obviously, that could have caused an altercation and just resulted in something so messy at Zari's wedding, where she had guests she holds in such high esteem. So at the wedding reception, we see a new cast member make her debut. So her name is Kefi, and she was invited by Swanky and had a very grand entrance. So Kefi is a famous influencer and fashionista, and she's also friends with Swanky and Nadia. So after the wedding, Nadia meets up with Kefi to inform her about the other members of the group and what to expect. And Kefi also decides to host the other members of the group to introduce herself properly. So before Kefi's brunch, we see Fantana and Annie meet up to know each other better. But for me, that lunch they both had was just a ranting session for Annie as opposed to knowing each other. So Annie begins a smear campaign against Swanky, who is very good friends with Fantana. She said so many nasty things against Swanky, and I don't know what she expected Fantana to do with those information. Fantana's reaction the entire time was so funny. You know Fantana can't take anything seriously. Anyway, after their meet-up, Fantana tells Swanky every single thing she said about him, which I feel was the right thing to do. Like, how would you tell me something nasty about my friend and expect I don't tell them? Like, for where? So they all came together for Kefi's brunch, and Kefi, Annie and Nadia were the first people that got there. So Nadia proceeds to address her issues with Annie and how she brought it up at Zari's wedding. So little backstory, what caused this fight or this issue was the fact that Nadia supported her friend Swanky when he had issues with Annie. I don't know if Annie does not understand the concept of friendship. Like, how do you expect me to be neutral when you're having issues with my friend? Of course I would support my friend. Anyway, both ladies got into an altercation at Kefi's brunch and Annie left angrily. So Louis, Fantana, Naked DJ, Zari and Keshib joined them later. And at the brunch, Louis talked about having a crush on Kefi, which got Fantana irritated. So quick backstory, Louis once had a crush on Fantana, but she turned him down because according to her, she and Diamond are in a relationship or whatever that thing is. So she was complaining that Louis likes every girl and she was just ranting rubbish in that scene and later walked out angrily. I feel she desperately wants Louis to chase her like a dog the way she chases Diamond, but sadly for her, Louis doesn't care that much. So speaking of Diamond, he and Fantana later met up and in typical Diamond style, he lied to her like an idiot the entire scene and she smiled the entire scene. Like, this man obviously has multiple girlfriends and is not even trying so hard to deceive you and you're helping him bake up lies that he can tell you. So you heard this man was with his girlfriend in Tanzania and then you decide to confront him, which is fine. But how would you still ask him if that's his artist? Obviously, that's you telling him that's what I want to hear. It's giving your love make me a happy mumu. But at the end of the day, they'll be fine. You know, bad boy and bad girl. She herself said she likes bad guys and Louis is not bad enough for her. So Diamond later met up with Zari, who is the mother of two of his kids. And it's crystal clear the different dynamics Diamond has with both ladies. So Zari doesn't really tolerate Diamond's rubbish as much as Fantana. So while they were at this meeting, there's something Diamond said that was so irritating. So we discovered that Zari had gone online to threaten him from seeing his kids. According to her, he only provides for them and doesn't really give them the attention they deserve or something like that. And in his confession, he said something like he has left them with her for months and doesn't mind leaving them with her for years if she decides to go that way. I find it so distasteful that so many fathers believe providing for their kids are their only obligations, and I find it more distasteful that fathers with multiple baby mamas are quick to give up on their kids due to slight inconveniences. Anyway, they both addressed their issues and had a beautiful family time. So Zari later met up with Nadia and Swanky, and Nadia told her all the awful things Annie said about her on her wedding. And later at Kaylee's event, Zari confronted Annie concerning these awful things. In typical Annie style, instead of apologizing, she got defensive. She tried justifying her awful points, but Zari read her for filth and dragged her father Abraham of a husband. What even burst my bubble was when she faced Swanky and asked him, would you sit there and let her insult me? Like, you've literally trash talked Swanky to his friend and you think she's not going to tell him, and yet you still expect Swanky to defend you. What an audacity. And then Swanky also confronted her about what she said about him, and of course she walked out angrily. And then she proceeds to call Fantana a child for telling him, madam, she's not a child, she's just loyal. Swanky also got very emotional about the entire thing and was crying, which was quite surprising. According to him, he felt he and Annie had reconciled and was hurt that she still had bad intentions. Something that was funny in that scene was Kefi asking for a moment of silence and Zari's reaction.
Can we have a moment of silence, please?
Who died?
Rubbish.
Moment of silence, who died?
I don't you dare speak to me like that. No, don't you dare.
Moment of silence. I saw that someone died.
So before this dinner, Kefi already talked about not liking Zari to Annie because Zari confronted her at her brunch. So Zari confronted Kefi earlier about how she walked into her wedding and tried stealing the spotlight, something like that, something very baseless. So the next scene, Zari's husband, Keshib, meets up with Diamond and they had an interesting conversation. So Keshib was expressing his feelings concerning Zari and Diamond still having feelings for each other. According to him, they're always touchy when they see each other and there are some things they've said that didn't sit well with him. I feel this is a quite embarrassing thing to be discussing with your wife's ex. Firstly, you just got married to this lady and you guys are already having these sort of problems. And even if you are to address this, you have to definitely address this with your wife. He also talked about Zari allegedly wanting to have another baby with Diamond. According to Diamond, Zari said those exact words to him, but Zari later denied them. I sincerely feel like this their marriage is quite toxic and Zari disrespects him a lot. There are certain things she says to him that are just not right. Anyway, Fantana and Nadia also had a heart-to-heart conversation about Nadia's recent loss. So Nadia recently lost her partner and it's been quite tough for her emotionally. And while they were talking about this and Fantana likely being pregnant for Diamond, Kanye made an appearance. So Kanye was there to console her and that was a very emotional scene overall. Speaking of emotional scenes, we also had a very emotional scene involving Naked DJ and Annie. So Annie talked about how she felt they all ganged up against against her and bullied her at Kaylee's event. And she also talked about the miscarriage she had a year prior, which was a sad thing to hear. In as much as I felt bad for her, I don't think she was bullied at all. I feel karma just came harder than usual for her. I believe if you say something nasty about someone, you should be ready to face the consequence. And we all know Annie is overly emotional and quite horrible at expressing herself. I feel she needs to learn to control her emotions and learn to express herself better. Anyway, Naked DJ consoled her and decided to organize this disco-themed skating event. So the event was supposed to unite them and bring peace to the group, and it actually did. So everyone was in attendance except Diamond and Kanye, and they barely hung out with them. Anyway, they all had fun learning to skate and later apologized to each other. So Zari apologized to Annie and Fantana apologized to Louis, and there was peace for a very short while. So Louis hosted all the cast members for this safari stuff, and some interesting things went down. So when they got there, first thing was Keshib addressing Louis for his unusual hug with Zari. So Keshib seems overly protective when it comes to Zari, but Zari seems like she doesn't care about his emotions. Her level of respect for him is quite low, and I feel she needs to do better. I also feel like Zari is quite an instigator. She knows how to poke people to get a reaction, and when you begin to react, she sits and smiles. Anyway, Kefi also talked about her messy divorce while they were at the safari, and then Zari supported her and gave her words of encouragement. But Zari later questioned the authenticity of her marriage. According to her, she heard it was all orchestrated for social media, and that sort of fueled Kefi's hatred towards her. Anyway, trust Zari to sit and act like she doesn't know what she's doing while she pisses you off. So while at the safari, Keshib talked to Fantana about her relationship with Diamond. So in Fantana's mind, she feels like she and Diamond are dating, or at least that's what she's telling us. I personally feel like Fantana understands that our guy is not dating her. She's probably embarrassed to accept the fact that they are just fuck buddies. So she goes around telling people they're in a relationship and probably tells Diamond to lie to her whenever they are filming. Because I don't want to believe she's so dumb and believes all the rubbish that comes out of his mouth. Like, Diamond is not even smart, so how can someone that dumb manipulate a lady? And I don't like when people say Fantana is so young and naive, like she's 12 or something. Fantana is a full-blown adult, so she's either playing a game with him or just delusional and pathetic. And whichever one it is, I wish them the very best and hope it lasts really long. So if I ever do something dumb, I can come and watch them and feel good about myself. So when they got back from the safari, Nadia met up with Diamond to talk about Fantana. So she asked him what their relationship was, and this guy boldly said, "We are just smashing." Like, shame no even catch him saying this to her very tight friend. And Nadia tried advising him to do better, but trust me, Diamond did not care. The next scene, Iniedo arrived in all her glory in this beautiful red number. So she was not a part of the show until now, and she was welcomed by Swanky. So Swanky is literally friends with all the divas in Africa. If you are a lady and you're a big deal in Africa, you are likely going to be friends with Swanky. Speaking of Swanky, I feel his storyline is very shallow and we have very limited idea of who Swanky actually is. We just know he loves fashion, he loves blings, and he's a very extravagant person. For the rest of the cast members, we know little things about their personal lives. For Naked DJ and Kaylee, we know they're in bondage. The guy doesn't plan on marrying her and is just wasting her time. For Louis, we know he has been disowned by his family for participating in Big Brother Africa and having sex on TV. According to him, his family members are very religious and were forced to disown him when he participated, which is very hypocritical. How do you claim to be religious and you can't forgive your own child for something he did? It's been over 9 years, so it's like he was way younger when he did that. Anyway, they would be fine at the end of the day, and he has also talked about wanting to try surrogacy. For Annie, we know a whole lot about her personal life. I wish I did not even know some of these things. We know about her cheating husband, we know about her daughter's illness. For Zari and Keshib, we know they're having relationship issues currently. For Kefiwe, she's going through a messy divorce right now. For Diamond, he's on a mission to sleep with every lady in Africa and also beat Tubaba's record. For Fantana, she has Diamond going on for her. And for Nadia, she's currently mourning the loss of her partner. But for Swanky, aside his drama with the cast members, we don't really know much about him. Anyway, back to the show. For the final scene in episode 4, I believe Diamond hosted a dinner. So prior to this dinner, Fantana already told him she was likely pregnant pregnant, and his excitement was something I did not see coming. If I tell you this guy sincerely wants to be the next Father Abraham, I'm not joking. Anyway, at the dinner, Nadia confronted him about his Tanzanian girlfriend, and this is why I love Nadia. One thing about Nadia, she's super direct and doesn't go through the corners, and I love the way she expresses herself. She exudes so much intelligence and confidence. So when she brought up the cheating thing, trust Fantana to defend him like a mumu. She did not even let Diamond speak because she understands Diamond is really dumb and will say something really silly. So she was like, there's no girlfriend involved, it's just an artist of ease. And then when Nadia asked about him and the girl kissing, she was like, Diamond, it's for a music video, right? And Diamond was even embarrassed on her behalf that he had to whisper the yes to her. So Swanky interrupted the conversation and was sort of taking Diamond's side, which got Nadia really angry. Nadia got really irritated by the whole situation and eventually walked out. Ini also questioned Naked DJ and Kaylee's relationship, and some of the things that man said, that thing is just bondage, not relationship. Anyway, that's where episode 4 ended, and that's where I'm going to end for today. The entire season includes 8 episodes, and I'm going to review the remaining 4 in my next video. Be sure to let me know your opinions on this show in the comments. Who is your current favorite character? For me, it's Nadia, and I would love to know yours. If you found this video interesting and you are yet to subscribe, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Also, give this video a thumb up to help the algorithm push it to more audience. Shout out to all my returning subscribers. Y'all are the absolute best. Bye for now and see y'all in my next video.